this is Carolina. I'm going to be showing you how to make this metal flower and leaves that I use to decorate this sweet little box. It's called a scallop purse box. And right below you can see where you can buy it from Tailored Expressions. And it just opens up and has a little latch right there. In the back you saw little holes that I punched. And I did that so I can thread some ribbon as you see it in the front. But the focus of this video is going to be how I put this little flower together and how I gave it texture, how I painted it, and all that good stuff. Believe it or not, these came from copper and aluminum metals, so metal squares. So it was really fun, and I'd love to show you all the steps. So let's get started. So I started off with this square. Again, they come in copper and aluminum, and I use my Blossom Spellbinders and Stabilities. And I'm going to bring out the actual pieces I used. Oops, there you go. Here's the first one. And I started with this one and then went a couple sizes down. The next one was this one, and then last was this little piece here. So I wanted just to create a little blossom kind of flower, so I wanted to obviously have them nest. So I went ahead and took these three, positioned them onto the Cuttlebug and cut them out. So I ended up with something like this. And then just pop out pretty quickly. And unlike paper, it takes a little bit longer, but again, it's not that hard at all, so you can tell. I'm just kind of taking it apart. If you happen to run into problems, just using your scissors just to go around, it's just as easy. Or sometimes you might end up with like a little snag or a little leftover piece of thread of metal. Just cut it off with your scissors. It's simple as that. And the first thing we're going to do, in order to paint it, because it is metal, I wanted to sand it down just so I can have the paint adhere a little bit better. But let me show you the paint that I used. It's Smooch. I don't know if you've seen the Smooch paints. They're so cute. They come like in a little nail polish container. And I used two colors. I used the Sassy Pink and the Carrot Smooch to give it like that color you saw on the purse, and I'll bring it back in a little bit. But anyways, I love the way these little containers are. So let's start off with sanding. As I mentioned, here's my sand block, and all you're going to do is just sand away. Make sure you go one direction and the other, just to get a good surface ready for your paint. And basically Smooches are acrylic paints. And you'll see no real magic to this, just kind of go every which way. The reason I'm not really going to try to cover it all is because I'm going to, on top of this, I'm going to go ahead and use my pink, my Sassy Pink color on it. So what I went ahead and did in between it was just kind of hit it with my heat gun so it dried a little faster, or you can just have it dry by itself. Either way, I'm just impatient, so I went ahead and used my heat gun to make the video not only faster, but to make this whole process a little faster. And once you're done painting it, and you know, with both coats, you can hit it again with your heat gun if you want to speed things up. Let me show you how I did that. I just went ahead, because it is metal, you want to kind of use tweezers. So I went ahead and used tweezers, and then you can tell right there at this angle that's kind of wet. Then when you put it down again, it'll be dry. So here I am. I did all these pieces. All my three pieces are done. Through the magic of videos, I would have fast forward. Now we're going to go ahead and just start bending the flowers to give it a little bit more realistic flower feel to them. So I just kind of put my thumb in the middle, bend around it, did that for all three, and then when I put it down, kind of just smush it in together. And here I'm doing the second one, and put it in the middle, just kind of see how it looks, and I kind of test it, bring it back out, and kind of even just do it while it's in there. And then my last one. And the last one's kind of critical. So you want to make sure you have like a good center, because I'm actually going to use a half-back pearl there. So let me bring the glue that I used. I went ahead, because it is metal, I used the Bond 527 glue. Any kind of metal glue would be great. Depending on what you're going to actually put this flower on, then it'll depend what metal or what glue you used. Since I'm putting this just metal on paper, this is just good enough. So anyways, put a little bit in the middle, put your middle piece down, and then just kind of smush it together. Don't be afraid, it's metal. It'll take a little bit of a beating, I guess. And then the last piece on top of that. And just, as you can tell, I'm not using much glue, not that much at all, just a little dab, because it is liquid glue, so it tends to spread out a little bit. But it does dry pretty quickly, so make sure you put it on there before it dries out on you. Then, like as I mentioned, I'm using Kaiser Craft Pearls, in this case a blush color. And again, it does come with a backing to it, or a glue in the back of them, but because this is going onto metal, I thought I'd use a little piece of glue, or a little dab of glue as well. So go ahead and position that in the middle. And then at this point, it's like you'll get another chance to kind of just play around with your flower, kind of lift it up, see how it looks, and then you can start lifting some of the petals again to give it more of a more realistic look to it, as I'm doing here. So what I love about this is that you'll get different colors every time, so it's really fun. Leaves. So for the leaves, I went with aluminum. I wanted to give it a different look to it, so I started wrinkling it ahead of time. And now what I'm going to do is show you different ways you can give some texture to it. And all you really need are your fingers. It's one way. And then maybe a stylus and a stamp. I went ahead and used this cute little stamp from Favorite Peeps set from Tailored Expressions. And then it just went over it. I just kind of like the bumps of them. And it was just a happy little accident, which turned out great. The other option you have is to use a background die. In this case, I just went ahead and got my mats, my piercing mats, and then my Spellbinders Impressibilities, the flower silhouettes, which is kind of cool. It's metal, so you're basically going to put metal on metal, and it kind of works great because it's almost like dry embossing. If you've ever tried that, we're going to pretty much do the same with metal. So let me scoot out here a little bit and then just kind of rub over it. Again, no real science to it. You just kind of want to give the metal some texture. So you can tell there's the texture right there. And then I'm just going to use my scissors to kind of freehand those leaves. If you don't feel comfortable with that, you can draw them. I just kind of feel, you know, it's handmade, and just give it that look, you know, and just kind of trim out your flowers. And for the flowers, for the leaves. And for the leaves, I went ahead and used Kiwi Smooch once you're done with it. So, really fun. And I'm going to show you that paint in a little bit. Oh, sorry, forgot one step. You got to sand it first, and then you can paint it. So, this is what the Kiwi Smooch looks like. It's a really pretty green. And with the aluminum, it just kind of really popped against the yellow purse. So that's why I went ahead and changed it to aluminum instead of using copper. So there you go. That's what it looks like on the purse. Again, really fun details there. And the other one I want to show you is a card I posted yesterday. And these have the copper stars. I went ahead and used extras I had just because I hate wasting. So let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what they look like. So it's just little stars that I punched out with my star punch and ran it through my through the crimper, but I'll show you that in a second. So again, like I said, this is pretty much what I cut out the flowers from. I had all this extra space, so I was trying to think of projects to do, and that's how I came up with this card. Went ahead and punched it with my star punch. Just a regular star punch. The one I'm using here is from Stampin' Up, but there's way, you know, tons out there now that you can use. Even I think Spellbinders even has a star die, but don't quote me that. I want to say I've seen it somewhere. Anywho, so I went ahead and then grabbed my crimper and ran those stars through them. Because they're such little pieces, instead of running the paper how you would normally through the top there, I just went underneath a bit. And sorry, I'm out of the camera focus here, but right underneath there. And then just run it through. Put both pieces at the same time. Makes it a little bit easier. Hold it together tight and then just run it through. And there they go. When they come out, they're a little bit kind of distorted. You just kind of straighten them out. They work just as well. Punch a hole in the middle and put a brad through it. And then you're ready to put it on your card. And what I went ahead and did here was just put it with glue dots. So that's pretty much it. That's another way to use this great metal sheets. There's my purse again. So whether you're using for a flower, for accents, for stars, it gives you a lot of room to work with. Thank you so much for joining me today. Appreciate you stopping by. See you next time.